The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 is here, it's in the house, and this year I will be switching again, but not what you might think. Now we'll also be comparing it to the Fold 5, the OnePlus Open, the Honor Magic V2 and the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, so stay tuned for that. Now to begin with, the unboxing experience is the same as what we had last year. No charger is included out of the box, we just get the device, a USB Type-C cable, some paperwork and a SIM card tool. Now, if you're a regular on the channel, you'll know pretty much from the first Fold, I have switched to it as my primary device to really give it a test. However, last year I did not, and that was because I didn't feel that there was enough of an update from the Fold 4 to the Fold 5. And yes, I know a lot of you guys are going to be saying, well, that's the same situation this year, going from the Fold 5 to the Fold 6. And I don't disagree with you, and although all of the changes that I wanted on the Fold 6 aren't here, there are some really nice updates. Firstly, I really like the overall look. We've got more squared off edges. Now, maybe I'm biased because I've always liked the squared off edges from the Note series, but it's nice to see this here on the Fold. I also really like that Samsung have now gone for a matte frame rather than a glossy one that we had on the Fold 5. Now, this is enhanced armor aluminium. It's not titanium, which I would have liked like we have on the S24 Ultra. But regardless, I do think we have a nice improvement in terms of the design. In addition to that, it is now thinner and lighter compared to the Fold 5. And the weight is just a few grams more compared to the S24 Ultra, which makes it much more of a standard size device. And for the first time, we have IP48 water and dust resistance. So this is now dust resistant for the first time. The 4 in IP48 means objects larger than 1 millimeter. So not completely dust proof, but better compared to the Fold 5 and others out there. Now I have the silver shadow version here, which looks kind of similar to the S24 Ultra Titanium, but it's also available in a pink and navy. And there are two exclusive colors available from Samsung.com, a crafted black and white. Now the crafted black sort of has a carbon fiber finish, which I think looks really unique. And if you are interested in buying the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, then you can use my affiliate link down in the description below. That's going to give you double the storage, up to $1,200 in trade-in credit, as well as an additional exclusive $100 of Samsung credit. But that is on for a very limited time, so do check that out as soon as possible if you're interested in pre-ordering. I also really like the displays of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. Now, to be fair, the main display on the Fold series has always been pretty good, and that is no exception here on the Fold 6. We've got an adaptive refresh rate, 1 to 120 Hz. It's also a lot brighter at 2600 nits. And we now have a slightly different aspect ratio. It's a little bit shorter and wider. Now, the crease has been reduced compared to the Fold 5. I mean, I can still notice it, but it's never really been a big deal for me. I know it's a big deal for a lot of other people. Generally, when I'm looking at the device, I'm looking at it head on and you don't really notice that crease. You only see it when you're kind of hitting it to an angle. The main display also has a new protective layer which improves shock absorption. I am not going to test this out deliberately. Now let's talk about the cover display. Yes, it is wider, but only just by around 1 millimeter. Now, having said that, because of the redesign and the flatter edges, it does give you a much more usable aspect ratio, around 22.1:9, so it's quite close to 21:9, which you may see on Sony Xperia devices. It's also got an adaptive refresh rate and it's got a brightness of 2600 nits. Now this is using Gorilla Glass Victus 2, not Gorilla Armor like we've got on the S24 Ultra. That's something that I was hoping for, having those anti-reflective properties. But if I'm honest with you, I still think it's a bit too narrow, and that's something that you will really notice when you compare it to other devices. So here we have some of my other favorite foldables. We've got the OnePlus Open, we've got the Honor Magic V2 and the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro. Every one of these has a wider cover display and are all much more usable compared to the cover display of the Fold 6. Also, although they now weigh roughly about the same, just a few grams between them, they are all thinner compared to the Fold 6. And despite that, every one of these has a larger total battery size compared to the Fold 6, especially the Vivo X Fold 3 Pro, which has a massive 5,700 mAh capacity. So clearly, when it comes to the hardware alone, I would say that the Fold 6 is inferior compared to these others. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably wondering, so Saf, why are you switching? apart from the clickbait title, of course. Well, here's the thing. Samsung has been making foldables longer than all of the others, and I think it gives them a particular advantage when it comes to software. Samsung has also been working very closely with Google over the past few years, and that means that the Fold 6 will have 7 generations of OS updates and 7 years of security updates, which you're not going to get on any of the others. In addition to that, we have some new Galaxy AI features, which I think are actually very useful. Let's take a look at some of these. Now, many of these were introduced on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, and if you remember seeing my review of the S24 Ultra, I did say that a lot of them I didn't find myself using every day. Now, most of those features have been improved on the Fold 6, and we also have some brand new features which I really like. So Call Assist, which is real-time translation during voice calls, works pretty well. However, it's not something that you're going to be using every day unless you're traveling, so it is scenario specific. My favorite thing about Call Assist this year is that it works with third-party apps like WhatsApp. If you are abroad, chances are you're probably not going to be using the cell service. You're probably just going to be using Wi-Fi or data. And in those situations, you will probably be using something like WhatsApp. So Call Assist is now much more usable. Now with Interpreter, I actually did try to use this feature on my S24 Ultra when I was in Saudi Arabia a couple of months ago. And I was trying to speak to the taxi driver who only understood Arabic. Unfortunately, at that time, Arabic was not supported with Interpreter. Looks like Samsung has seen my video because now Arabic is supported. But what's even better with Interpreter on the Fold 6 is that you now have conversation mode, and that utilizes the flex mode of the Fold 6 to be able to display what you're saying on the main display. And on the cover display, the person you're speaking to can also see that text, which is super useful. Now, Chat Assist also has some improvements, which I might actually see myself using a little bit. Here's an example. I actually told it to write me an email for a resignation letter for a place that I've been working at for 10 years due to personal circumstances. And this is what it came up with, which was pretty cool. Now, Browsing Assist is still here. It's something that hasn't changed too much as far as I can see. This summarizes web pages for you. This is great for articles. Note Assist has had some improvements, so you can auto-format, summarize, spell check, and translate notes. And Transcript Assist is now also available in Notes, and it can transform recordings into text transcripts and summarize. This is something that will be really useful if you're in a lot of meetings and you want to take lots of notes. You can just transcribe the whole thing, then you can search through that quite easily. But for me, the most impressive features have been in generative AI imaging. So with Photo Assist, you can still edit images, you can rotate them and fill in the gaps, you can move people around. But we now have Sketch to Image, which is going to transform simple drawings into different styles. This is a lot of fun and seems to work really well. I'm not sure how much I would use this every day, but what I do see myself using a lot is Sketch to Image within photos. So now you can edit and add objects to existing photos, whether they're taken on the Fold 6 or another device, simply by sketching the object on the photo and letting the Fold 6 do its thing. Here you can see an example where I've just drawn an S on my chest, and the Fold 6 has been able to recognize that I've got a jacket on and has been able to place that logo underneath my jacket on my top, and this looks super, super impressive. Now, this does take a little bit of time. Sometimes it can take up to 15 seconds. Sometimes it's around 8 to 10 seconds. But to me, that's not too bad based on the results that you can get. Now, you can also transform portraits into different styles. When this works, it looks very, very good, but sometimes it can be completely off as well. But nevertheless, I think these are quite cool features, which I do see myself using a lot. But over the next few weeks when I'm testing this out, it'll be interesting to see how much I use them. Circle search is still here, but now we can also circle sums to work out the equations. It's not just going to give you the answer, but it's going to give you things like the working out, which may be good for homework. I am not good with equations anymore, so I can't testify to that. And we still have support for the S Pen, which is not available on all other foldable devices. Now, what I like about the S Pen this year is that the new S Pen case is actually very compact, and it's something that I can actually see myself using with the Fold 6, although it's going to make it a little bit thicker. On the Fold 5, which was already thicker, having that case with that pen did make things even thicker, which meant that I did not use it. But if you do have a pen from the Fold 5, it will still work on the Fold 6. One thing that I would have liked is for the S Pen to not only work on the main display, but also on the cover display. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the cameras because we don't actually have much of an update when it comes to the camera hardware. We've still got a 10 megapixel selfie camera a 4 megapixel under display camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, which has been updated. So now you can record 4K 60 frames a second on here, which you couldn't do on the Fold 5. We've got a 50 megapixel primary camera and a 10 megapixel telephoto camera, which will give you 3 times optical zoom. Now, from the comments that I've been reading, a lot of people have been disappointed about this, but the Fold 5 had good cameras. The Fold 6 also has very good cameras, especially with the new image signal processor with the new chipset. Now, yes, this isn't going to be on the level of the S24 Ultra, especially with its periscope zoom technology and that additional 5x zoom camera. But that's not to say that the cameras on the Fold 6 are bad. This is something that I will be testing over the next few weeks. Now, one update that I'm definitely happy about is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy. I've been using this on the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra for the past 6 months, and it's been absolutely awesome. In my experience, generally, Fold devices have been super fast and snappy. I'm not going to be doing some crazy things that you've seen some other people do in demos. I don't think that's the way people really use devices, but the way you'll actually be using the Fold 6 with multitasking, the 8 Gen 3 is the perfect chip for it. I'm also interested in testing out the battery life, which I'll be doing over the next few weeks. It's got a smaller battery compared to something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. And we still don't have any updates in terms of charging. It's still got 25 watts of charging and 15 watts of wireless charging. So again, something that I would have liked to have seen an improvement with, but it's not the end of the world. Now, finally, one thing that I do want to address is around pricing, because the Fold 6 is now priced higher, around £50 more or $100 more compared to what the Fold 5 started at. And the Fold series has been increasing in price year on year. However, as mentioned earlier on in the video, Samsung do offer some crazy pre-order deals where you can get double the storage, up to $1,200 in credit when you trade in, as well as a limited time exclusive $100 Samsung credit using my affiliate link down in the description below. When you add all of that up, the price doesn't seem as high as it initially did. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking away from the fact that this is an expensive phone, and I'm not saying it's perfect by any means. As I said, I think the hardware on other devices is much better. And that's really what I want to see over the next few weeks. I want to put my SIM card in here and I want to see how it is day to day. And I will be sharing my full review in a few weeks' time. If you want to see that, then do consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you don't miss it. And let me know down in the comments below what you'd like me to cover when I am testing this as my daily driver over the next few weeks. Now, if you want to see exactly what's new on the Fold 6 compared to the Fold 5, then I have done a detailed comparison, which you can see here. And if you're interested in finding out more about the Samsung Galaxy Ring, then I have covered that in this video here. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do smash that like button for me. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.